everybody, and welcome to another lovely episode of Celvion Night. Anyway, we never got the theme song actually commissioned, so we have our lovely guest, JamesVariety. Today's uh what? Anyway, introduce yourself, James.
I say?
That is my bad.
Oh, no worries. Can I be heard?
Yeah, you
Uh,
you you can be here now.
Perfect. I was just gonna say my name is James. I go by JamesVariety. Online most places. I am mainly a video editor. I edit primarily for a YouTube channel called Dustin Eden. It's where I spend most of my time these days. Um, Racing themed videos and such. Do some acting there, do some voice acting, and just in general do voice acting and things of that nature. And a little bit of writing, work on a book. Got a whole lot of projects going on, essentially, just got a lot of creative
Oh,
endeavors. Um, Streaming when, you know, stream functions and I have the time. Um, but yeah, just a lot of creative,
awesome.
creative things.
I'll be honest, I mostly know you from stuff with Cell, and I've seen a bunch of your streams, and I actually still has shown me your Justin Eden had like a whole movie made.
Yeah, last year. Took a good chunk of the year. Just essentially, I did some work on the channel before. That was sort of because when I showed up to the channel a couple years ago, it was a lot of just like highlight reels and stuff, and then that kind of sort of just cut together the fun parts of the stream. Um,
Yeah,
and I started to do the more creative sort of acting and voice acting and stuff like that. And it just kept escalating more and more until the point last year where he gives me this like 50-page script and I go through and revise it a little bit and spruce it up. And a year later, I got this movie essentially where I play like a good chunk of the characters. It's like 3 hours, 11 minutes long or something like that. That was basically the whole last year. So
it was
it's,
so good. Every like I didn't watch all of it, like, but I did watch a solid hunk of it, and
oh,
I you did a great job.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm very proud of it.
But yeah, I like what I am anyway.
No worries.
But yeah, so actually, tell me about the book. You're writing a book? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's been a project even longer in the works. Um, God, I think it's been since high school. For reference, that was like almost a decade ago. So, coming up to a decade ago. Um, yeah, in high school, I started kind of just spitballing ideas for a book, just writing stuff down, little bits and pieces here and there. At some point, it was like two books, and then I was like, nah, just work on the one. Um, and been working steadily on and off on it for a while. It's it has come it's ballooned into something way bigger than I would have ever expected. But I'm working on the rough draft now, 750 pages last time I checked.
Yeah.
So yeah, um, hope to
Uh,
have that done at some point. But
Obviously, you don't have to like go into spoilers, but what sort of
oh,
novel,
oh yeah,
like
yeah.
genre?
No worries. It's a novel. I'd classify it as like alternate history dystopia kind of
Okay,
type thing. Sort of an
interesting.
offshoot of like World War II. Things, didn't go the same way. And it's an alternate version of like 1970 where it's I won't go. Yeah, it would take more
Yeah,
time than I
no
could possibly,
worries.
but um yeah, it's essentially just a alternate version. Countries are different, places are different, people are different, and it just deals with this group of exiles essentially who uh, have to survive,
Here
essentially
we go.
left to die, kind
Welcome to
of in a way.
Taco Bell.
and yeah, it follows them, and all the president is this really troublesome guy, and yeah, it's a whole thing, but very proud of it so far, and hopefully sometime maybe this year or next year I can have the rough draft done. I got a lot of work done on it last year in my free time, but yeah,
That's
really looking forward to
awesome.
it eventually. But thank you.
Yeah, that like I've actually always wanted. So I'm really impressed.
Oh,
Like
no, I appreciate it. It's a lot of
um
fun.
I imagine like I love doing anything. Although I love doing I love doing creative stuff. Like, the whole creative process of like trying to figure out like a story or even just like any sort of like bigger project like that. I've always found some of like the most fulfilling, just fun.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, it can get, you can get writer's block, you get all the classic, I don't know where to go from here, but once you work it out, it's like it's the best feeling in the world.
oh, for sure, for sure. Also, thank you, Sil, for the raid. I really appreciate
Hello, everybody.
it. But yeah, so editing. Like how have you gotten how have you gotten into editing? It's like let's talk about that a little.
Yeah, sure. I can't even remember the first time that I like laid eyes on a love you too, so laid eyes on a editing software. I guess it's got to be Sony Vegas. I guess sometime growing up, my brother was editing in Sony Vegas, and my brother is like a big influence on all of the creative endeavors and stuff. Um, the writing, I think a lot of that came from me mostly, but still, it was a lot of the video editing, the movie making, music, all that kind of stuff. I do music too. All that stuff,
We'll have to
kind
talk
of.
about that.
Oh yeah. Um, a lot of that stuff came from him. Just growing up around it all the time. He played guitar. I got into drums at an early age, and yeah, photography, photo editing, video editing. I just always saw him doing it. So from at least 6 or 7 years old, I was already getting the bug for that kind of stuff. It was just so cool that what you could do with it. I never was able to jump into it so quickly, but 2011, 2012, somewhere around there, um, was when I finally got my hands on Vegas and Windows Movie Maker for a little while. Played around with that, and you can only do so much with that. So,
Right,
um,
right.
spent a lot of time on Sony Vegas and used that for a good part of the teens until I found DaVinci Resolve in like 2017, 2018. That's what I've been using since then. Even though it pisses me off quite often, it's what I use now, and it's just insane what you can do with software these days, especially with all the AI, upscaling and voice isolation and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's like the best time ever to get into it, because there's so many possibilities and the barrier to entry is so low. But it's been a passion like my whole life, and I love having an idea and just putting it on the screen, turning it into something you can watch and enjoy, and yeah, always had a passion
sure.
for that.
Actually, like when you said Sony Vegas, I had a weird flashback to my first YouTube channel. That was the
Mhm.
program I used for that. So it's just like, yo, Sony Vegas.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. And a lot of people still use it today, and it's useful. All I remember with that is just crashing so often, but uh, that's that was why I was kind of happy to make the move. Besides all the other things, I mean, an interesting move going from Vegas to DaVinci Resolve, because DaVinci Resolve is more kind of based like Premiere Pro. For anybody who edits, it's I guess they call it a non-linear editor. So you're jumping around all over the place to do different things. You have different timelines for different purposes. You have the Fusion tab, which is visual effects and stuff, and another
Yeah,
one
yeah.
for audio, and another one for nodes and color correction and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Vegas, it's just everything's here where you need it and you just go. So it can be a little bit weird getting into it, but um, I was up for the challenge, and I figured I wouldn't bother with Premiere Pro. A, I didn't have the money for the Adobe subscription, and B, it just I've heard the same thing with crashing with that one, so I'm just like whatever program crashes the least is the one I'd like to go with and does the most. And also it's free, so I'm like, okay, I can get with that. That's a good price.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a funny thing about that is I picked it entirely because PewDiePie said he used it. And I'm like,
Mm.
I want to get into making YouTube videos. And I had all these ideas for stuff I was going to do with that. And I'm like, what does PewDiePie use? Talked about it one video and then
Hmm.
just
Yeah,
some.
and guys like PewDiePie, all those guys online, they're big inspirations too. Um, I will say for my part, Freddie W, I believe was his name. Yeah, Freddie W. I'm trying to remember the name of like big projects he did. Rocket Jump High School. I never watched that one too much, but he had all these videos back in the day. Anybody into VFX will probably know that name. Um, just gunfights and muzzle flashes and how to do this correctly and how not to do this and chroma keying and green screening, all this stuff. Huge inspiration for um, the video editing bug that I already had to go deeper and do more. That guy was huge back in the day.
Fan of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even follow him on TikTok. He does bass
Mhm.
guitar, fretless bass guitar tutorials.
Oh really?
That's all he does on TikTok. He does everything else on other things, but TikTok, he's just like, I got a fretless bass. Here's my journey.
I,
Of
I can I can appreciate that.
Uh, so yeah, music. I'll be honest, like one of my biggest like my first introductions to you was uh just like, Cell, this is James Variety. James, sing the Scooby Doo theme song.
Oh yeah, still probably now playing Lunch Lady.
So I just remember that being one of my first like in a call with you like interactions I've ever had. And I think back to that a lot. So like that's my
Mhm.
just picture of you kind of.
I'll take that as a win. I'm proud of that one. It's one of my more satisfying songs to sing. I tend to try to push myself and sing things that are outside of my range, but that one's a sweet spot.
So so you do music then?
Yeah, not as much as I'd like to. I just don't have the space for it. I have a keyboard over here, but I've never been. I don't know what the word would be, but like fluent, like good enough to play it like smoothly and properly and with good technique. I just sort of look up songs to learn and learn them and then forget them in 5 minutes. But like I said, I'm a big into drums. Been playing drums since I was about 6. They put me behind a drum set, and friend of my sister's, yeah, a friend of my sister's. They used to live together. They were roommates, and I had been playing Rock Band a little bit before that. Actually, I don't know if Rock Band was out. It might have been just Guitar Hero. One of those games. One of the ones where they started. I don't know if the first Rock Band had come out yet, but one of the ones that had the drums in it. And so I'd been picking it up a little bit. Um, and yeah, went into his house and they were having a bit of a party. And somebody put me behind the drums, or I wandered over to the drums and started tapping on him or something. And they thought it was him playing the drums because it was actually like decent enough, like that they thought that he was just messing around on the drums. And then they come in and they see me sitting there fucking around on the drums and like, sorry, can I curse here?
Oh yeah, no, feel free.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I was messing around on the drums, and yeah, after that they were just like, oh yeah, he's we gotta foster that. So I'm glad they did because nothing to me is more fun than playing drums. I've tried. You see behind me, I have some guitars on the wall. My brother's more the guitarist. He actually gave me the one on the right. One on the left I got myself, and they're the left one at least is a good entry level, but
Yeah,
um
yeah.
I can never really get my fingers to do the appropriate things or the right things. I can play a couple things, but it's it's I can get along okay with it. But drums are really where it's at. That's the thing that I can really do and confidently do well. It's just unfortunate that it takes up so much space because um, it's something I've missed out on quite a while. I find myself like tapping on my knee, tapping on the desk all the time, just constantly. Uh, as a result of I guess you call it with drum withdrawal. But yeah, I've composed some music before. actually some work on Dustin's channel, and it's kind of part of why I like to work on the channel so much is I have so much creative freedom with a lot of things, especially like with the with the movie last year, um, which in that you might have seen like the little musical segments. He basically picked out the songs, a lot of songs from what is it called? Guilty Gear. A lot of songs from Yakuza, the Yakuza games and such. And he picked out these songs and the ones that have lyrics anyway. And he basically just said replace the lyrics because I had done that so often on the channel before, sort of doing parodies. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with the Daytona USA theme. That's like Daytona. Hopefully Discord didn't cut that out, but uh, there was like I changed it to McDonald's or something because there was a car with a McDonald's livery on it. So goofy shit like that, parody songs and things of that nature of changing the lyrics up to fit the theme. That's what I did on the movie essentially to sort of tell the story or continue the story, sort of a montage type thing. Um, so I always love either tinkering with music that already exists, making remixes, making mashups. Sometimes I'll hear a song like playing in my car, and then another song will follow up, and like it'll just feel right to put them together, even if they're two completely different songs. Um, for example, one of them was Kanye West's song "Touch the Sky," and then on my playlist I happen to have Big Blue or Big Blue, the Big Blue theme from F-Zero. Uh, and somehow the two meshed together, and I'm like, okay, these need to go together, and so I just did that. So goofy stuff like that, making stuff from scratch. It's all stuff that I would love to do more. I don't necessarily have all the time to do it now, and I don't know like where to put it, especially if it's stuff that already exists. It's copyright gets very tricky. So
Yeah,
it's it's a little tough to know like what to do with it and where to put it, but just to make it and enjoy it for myself is really fun. So,
that's awesome. I
and I
I
can
totally
place the
relate
best.
to the just not having. Like
Mhm.
I know how to play guitar, and I have not practiced that in like just
Really.
because like it's just you just sit down and like play something, and it's just like that's not the way to do things.
Yeah, it can be a little tough, especially if you can't remember exactly how to get it started. I find that like if you learn something, it can kind of get there, but after a couple years, it starts to go away. At least me personally, my fingers start to hurt as well, so I can't do it too
And
much.
I okay, well, thank you. I recently had a microphone change, so
Um,
you saw the uh. So my current microphone is not always the best.
mm,
Okay,
gotcha.
interesting. Uh, so how did you get started working with so
Dustin?
Dustin? Thank you so much. How
Oh yeah,
did you
no
start getting
worries.
working with Dustin?
Um, So I think it was 2022. It was the middle of 2022. Yeah, I remember because I had COVID. I was kind of knocked on my ass with COVID for a little while. Hey, senpai. I was knocked on my ass with COVID for a little while, and I was sort of just lounging, um, watching whatever popped up in front. Well, I curated a little bit, but I was just sort of scrolling mindlessly through stuff, just trying to uh, ignore that I felt like crap, and came across his channel, um, racing videos based on. I think the specific one was based on old series of racing games. Actually, it's still around, but games I used to play back in the day, Gran Turismo. Um, Big part of my
Alright.
childhood that got me into cars, and that's a whole nother thing. Is I'm pretty into cars, not like crazy, but um, that game put a lot of love, instilled a lot of love for certain cars in me, and uh, I loved playing that game back in the day, and I hadn't played it for a while, so I was like, oh, it's surprising to see somebody else, playing this stuff. And as it turns out, there's a whole community of people who still play these really old racing games from like 2001, and I was like, oh, that's pretty fun. So, I watched a lot of his stuff, went back and watched some of his stuff. He had videos about like how camera placement in racing games affects how you experience the racing game and all this kind of stuff. Um,
Huh.
and I'm like, well, that's neat. And I kind of, I started to recover a little bit, and I was like, okay, well, that's cool. That's a guy I can watch now. Um, and at the time, I worked at an airport, private airport, down south a little ways, landscaping. And it was grueling work. I mean, I guess I can say I live in Florida. I won't go more specific than that, but I live in Florida, and it gets hot and humid and awful. And I was out there busting my butt quite a bit for not a ton of pay. So yeah, aerospace job you could say. I was just mowing the grass, um, and they were, and it was mostly like weed whacking and the hand tools and stuff. And I was getting tired of it, and I was like, all right, kind of time to start looking into something else. But I didn't really have a direction to go, and as I was starting to return to work, and it was still really tough because it was summer and I was still feeling pretty bad. So I was looking for any reason to not go there and do that, or to do it at least less. And I'm on YouTube on the main page one day, literally 20 minutes before I have to go to work. And I was just looking and I saw a community post by him saying, hey, looking for an editor. And usually when I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I probably don't have the skills to do something like that. At the time he had like 30,000 subscribers or so. And I was like, small potatoes I am. Like, I'm not gonna, I'm probably not gonna be able to make that. So, but I was like, you know what? I don't usually go in for things like this, so what the hell? I'll give it a try. Um, so I filled out a quick Google form. It only took me 5 minutes. Told them that I had several years of experience, at least I think 7 or 8 of years of experience at the time, with editing, and I had already been pretty comfortable with DaVinci at that point. So I sent it in, and I was like, I don't expect to hear from this or to hear from him on this. So went to work, had a day, and I don't remember if it was that day or if it was the day after, but it was within a couple days that I got a message from him, and he's like, yeah, you're pretty much the most impressive one I saw out of the list that or the group that I got. So, he gave me a lot of the terms and stuff, and we agreed to it. And before you know it, I was working on my first video. Um, and It was amazing. I never did anything like that before for anybody online, and or freelance work, or I have had a detailing side gig in real life, quote unquote real life. Um, that sort of has been a thing since 2020. It's been a business since 2020, but it's more of just a side gig, just a side hustle, doing things here and there. So I had a little bit of experience with, kind of being my own boss or being my own manager at least. But nothing online, nothing I could do from the comfort of home. You know, it was really quite awesome. So um, yeah, did one video. He enjoyed it, and did several more videos, and he never had to step in and say, "Oh, can you change this? Can you do that? Oh, I don't like how this turned out, or do that." Um, and at some point, he kind of just stepped back and said, "Just do what you got to do." And that to me is like the best thing because that means that I'm doing it at least right. Um, so. And like I was saying before, more of the creative stuff, the music, the acting, the little skits and segments. I created this character, which you saw in the movie, GT guy, literally just the yellow shirt wearing. Not, I wouldn't even call him the mascot of the series. Like nobody really paid attention to him. He's just sort of the mechanic guy who stands around your car when you get an oil change in the game, or when you get a car wash, or when you want to change your rims or a spoiler. It's just the guy standing there. He doesn't talk, he doesn't do anything. He just holds a clipboard and stands there. But in one episode or one video, I happen to give him sort of a personality, and he's this sort of quippy guy who talks some shit about your car, um, and I just called him the GT guy. The game's GT. He's the guy from GT. I didn't think about it that much, but couple years later, and like they're talking about making plushies. He's in talks with a company about like prototypes of a plushie and whatnot. And I played the character, and like I have the shirt. It's right over there. I have the like a real life replica, quote unquote, of the shirt. And the GT guy meme is a big thing in the Gran Turismo community now. It's a bit of a niche thing, but it's fun how it became this big thing just from a little offside joke. So Um, yeah, it's been a ball, ups and downs, but um, it's definitely work I'm passionate about and stuff that really is enjoyable, and I'm always glad that I can make money doing such fun thing as that. But
That's awesome. Uh, yeah, like the so you were talking about Gran Turismo and how it got
Mhm.
you to be like in love with some types of cars. What cars?
I don't know if you can see it very well. That car right there, maybe not, but that's a new Supra. So not necessarily that one specifically, but the Supra, the Mark IV Supra. Um,
Okay.
it like yeah, it's based well. Um, the Mark IV Supra, from the 90s or early 90s until the till the early 2000s. Um, they made it's just a Toyota sports car. A lot of people really like it. I think it's pretty popular. Um, but the intro sequence of that game, it's like there's this race car version, and it's just it puts the whole game starts out as you're basically like the camera's going around the car, following the curves of the car, and then it like goes into the engine, and you actually see the combustion of the car. And this was in 2001. This was like this blew my little like 2 or 3 year old mind at the time. Um, but it's like you see the fuel spray going, and then it comes out of the engine, and they close the hood, and you got this crew that's just getting the car ready. They're putting the wheels on, they drop it down, and then the headlights come on, and it just looks like so fierce. And I'm just like, I could geek out about that car all day, but like, it's just from that point, I love that car. Um, so that's a dream car. Unfortunately, they're very expensive. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but just the look of it, it's just a very you just don't see cars that look like that these days. And even the new one, not the hugest fan of it, but I really like what they did with the new one because it's also got that stance that's just crazy. But that game got me into Miatas, the little roadsters, convertible cars. And currently that is the car that I actually own in real life is a 2010 Miata.
Yo, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
Like
And the front of it kind of looks like the Supra from the game. It's got this big smile on it. Yeah.
that's awesome. I
There's probably a whole bunch of other cars that it got me into, but there's a whole list.
that's awesome. I actually I just I have some similar situations with giving like dream cars. Although
Mm.
my current one is I really want the city car. Can't remember the company right in a second. CITI car. And it's what the little tiny My car in Cyberpunk is based off of.
Oh, okay.
Its
Like a little bit
dashboard
of like,
looks like a Game Boy. That's why I liked it.
oh, yeah.
But yeah,
That's
no,
that does sound familiar.
it's fine. You don't have to. You don't have
Oh, no,
to
no, no. I am actually glad I did. It's Sebring. It's based in Florida, so there you go. Represent.
here.
But also, I have seen that thing. That thing's like a Dorito wedge.
I know, isn't it? Isn't it kind of awesome? It's just like
Yeah.
two seats and that's it. It's
Mm.
not even a trunk or anything.
Yeah. There's so many interesting cars like that. Not sure if you're familiar with the PLP 50. I mean, I think it's the world's smallest car, and it literally you can pick it up and carry it. It makes a smart car look like an SUV. They have so many goofy cars like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes me think of like I don't know if this ever happened in your like school, went to school, but like
Mm.
people would just like pick up and like carry cars of like teachers to the school. Oh, for like April Fool's Day from like the parking lot.
Really? Like full-sized cars?
Yeah, yeah. Essentially, you just get like the football team, and they would be like, go
Um,
find the principal's, principal's, like car in the parking lot, and then as a unit, they would all pick it up and carry it into like the auditorium. So that
wow.
just because there was they just had to get around. So
Wow. Yeah, that they never did anything like that at my school. My school was very boring in comparison, but
oh,
that would be amazing to see. They'd have to traverse a lot of like courtyard because the parking lot's really far away, but
oh,
that would have been
fair.
amazing. Wow.
Uh, yeah.
Hi, Tommy.
So tell me how you like I said, I mostly know you from hanging out with like Sil and Senpai and all of. How did you guys all meet up, like know each other?
Oh man, going back even further than 2022, 2020, um, also summer. A lot of things happened to me in summer, I guess. Um,
Or
it
fun.
was yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, my brother and I went into VR chat one day. It was yeah the night of the event. Um, I remember it like it
That.
was yesterday. Yeah, my brother and I went into VR chat one day. And you know we played from time to time, but kind of just a random like, hey, let's play VR chat. Yeah, let's do it. I think it was yeah July 15th 2000, or I was a little bit earlier than July 15th. Or no, it was July 15th, something like that. Uh, my memory is very selective, but also very specific, I guess. But yeah, went into a VR chat world. We went to a whole bunch of worlds. It wasn't necessarily the Taco Bell one first, if memory serves. We went to like a museum thing that whole had a whole bunch of avatars in it. One of those avatar worlds with just a hallway of um different kinds of characters in it. And yeah, we met up with, I believe it was Still and Senpai just the first time. Um, it was Still and Senpai the first time, and we went around, had a good time. The rest of the night's kind of a blur because I was just like I didn't expect it to be such a big part of my life, but um, I was like, yeah, I guess I mean, had a good time, made a bunch of fart jokes and stuff. I unfortunately didn't. I was recording at the time because I was a little more active on my personal YouTube, but um, I was I could have sworn I was recording, and we had a whole bunch of stuff, and then I stopped, and we were taking a break or sitting or something, and I checked, and I was like, damn it, I wasn't recording. So I started recording then, and at some point after that point, we got into the Taco Bell world, the VR chat Taco Bell world, and I mean, all hell broke loose in there. It's like, um, yeah, it was I was Morty. Um, uh, was Kendo there the first day? I don't remember. I thought you introduced me to Kendo later, but no, actually, now that I'm thinking of it, yeah, um, we met up with Tommy after or later in the night, and then I eventually made it into a separate video. That's why I was confusing it. So yeah, it was Tommy there as well. And yeah, we had a great time, and and like I said, I made multiple videos out of it. Um, um, but after that, I think we kind of left, and that was it. And we'd played Taco Bell World. No, we played VR chat a lot, and kind of just I added people, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll see them around sometime, maybe not, whatever. I didn't play that much by myself, but for whatever reason, without my brother, I was like, you know what? I feel like playing VR chat again. And I went to the same VR chat world or the same Taco Bell world. Out of however many instances I could have possibly picked, I happened to pick the one where Silver and Senpai were, and I immediately noticed them, and they immediately noticed us, and I did get that on recording because I was recording that time, and I was just like, damn, dude, what are the odds of that? And didn't add us, so we went back to see if we could find you. Oh wow, really? Okay, so I didn't even add them in the first place.
Yeah,
So they were out looking for me, and I was looking for I wasn't even looking. I was just
yeah.
like, hey, I'll go back to
Version of
the
this
art.
story I heard from Sil was that like she had such fun time hanging out with you that they went back to Taco Bell a couple times trying to see if they could again.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Uh, you found me, and
Yeah,
I'm glad that they did because they're awesome. Tommy's awesome. I met a lot of great people. You're pretty cool. You're all awesome. I've met a lot of really cool people as a result. I didn't really have. This was 2020, and I had graduated in class of 2017 from high school. Never went to college or anything. And most of my high school friends kind of up and evaporated. They all went on and lived their life. Yeah. Um, Couple people still in contact with, but not consistent contact, and they, um, just sort of disappeared off the radar. So largely, I had just been, working and just keeping to myself for a while. So I never really had any real close friends, and as a result of meeting them that day, I've definitely made some very close friends. So
That's
it was
awesome.
pretty cool.
Taco
Yeah.
Bell, the place dreams are made.
Yeah.
Sad.
Sometimes they go there to die, sometimes they go there to be born.
Dreams are happening. Whether it's either the
Yeah.
beginning or the end of them, but there are dreams at Taco Bell.
Oh yeah.
What's the best item at Taco Bell?
Oh god, I haven't touched fast food in ages, but I last time we had Taco Bell, God, for reference, last time we had Taco Bell, I think it was probably 3 or 4 years after they introduced the Doritos Locos Tacos, and nothing really beats those. The
Those are genuinely my
those
favorite.
yeah, those and chalupas were our big thing back in the day. I'm a bit of a germaphobe and stuff, so I don't really eat, the fast food stuff anymore, but if I had to pick something, that's probably what it would be.
No,
Tommy
that's
can
fair.
confirm.
That's totally fair. We just Taco. It just seemed like an obvious question to ask.
Oh, no, yeah, no, they got some good stuff there. I hesitate to say good because you tend to pay the price, but yeah, so we got the cheese rollers. That was the conclusion to that night, or I guess not the conclusion, but yeah, drinking a can of regret and downing it with Taco Bell cheese rollers. Not a good idea.
Such a fun game for an action. Just
Yeah, oh, it would be.
open up a can of regret.
They have the one that's what was it called, Liquid Death or something, but it's just
Oh
water or
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, it's water in a can made to look like beer for people who don't want to drink but still want to go to parties.
Oh wow. Well, there you go.
But
The can of regret.
but yeah, do you still do VR much?
I I don't do it on stream, mostly because the stability of my streams suffers even when I'm not doing VR chat. Like, I have the worst luck with streams. Either the internet goes down or a component of my computer starts having problems, and so, um, so it just I don't think it could handle the VR these days. But I've also been slacking on doing the VR in general, just because it's so much to set up and it just gets too hot in the room. But one of these one of these days I'll have to get back to it because it can be a lot of fun. I do need to download extra RAM.
Um,
But
all right. Uh,
we'll be back.
I just sent you home with
So,
the Quest.
I do have I mean, I do have a headset sitting around. So I think it's under my bed. I wanted to clear up space under my table here, but um, I do have a Quest. Um, I just haven't messed with it for a while. Um, Didn't they discontinue? I don't know if they discontinued support for it entirely or if it's unusable. I assume it's still usable, but I heard that Oculus was like discontinuing a whole bunch of support and for the devices that aren't like the newest and hottest thing. But I haven't tried it since I heard about that stuff, so I'm not sure how well it works. But
That's
I've always been a bit of a sucker for the index, mainly because of the finger tracking. But played Half-Life out. I would jump into VR just to play Half-Life Alex again because that was, and I never got to try Bone Rooms either, or not Bone Rooms, excuse me, Bone Works. That was a fun one. From I think the Corridor Digital guys, somewhat related to Freddie W, or one of the guys who was affiliated with Freddie W built that game. Um,
yeah.
Really fun looking game. Um, so one of these days I gotta jump back in and get that. But
Okay.
Mhm.
Hmm. Uh, so what games have you been playing lately? Like,
um, as much as a lot of my stuff revolves around games, I don't actually play games. It's like sit down and actually play games all that much. Um, I will say most recently I played Super Bunny Man on a stream, and that was a lot of fun. It's reminds me of those old I think Quops was the name of the game,
oh,
QWOPS, where you're like the runner and you're like have to control each individual limb and you're just like flopping all over the place. A little more intuitive than that, but it's sort of the same thing where you just like have basic controls where you're just like flipping around a person and you grab each other. It's a co-op where you have to like cooperate
yeah.
with the other person, and it was a ton of fun. I incredibly infuriating, but in the best possible way. I'd love to get back to that again. But um, that was the most recent thing I played. But before that, most of my gaming was on stream. Back, I took a pretty long vacation at the end of last year, beginning of this one. And before that was the last time I consistently streamed. Because since then I've been having some issues with my computer. But um, before that, I streamed Gran Turismo 4, uh, which was the one that came out a little bit after the one that had the Supra in it, the 2001. That one I completed. I did a 100% run of that game over the course of years because I just started it as a casual playthrough way back when I started streaming because I was like, I like this game. I just want to play it. And then that was before Dustin, and then after Dustin, I started to really get back into the streaming after I'd gotten a lot of work done on his channel and felt like I had some time to spare. And I decided to turn it into a 100% playthrough, not knowing how much of a pain in the ass it is to actually complete the game to 100%. So it took probably another year or so of on and off streaming to get that one done. And the last stream, I think, was a 15-hour stream just to get the final like endurance races done and finally get that last bit of 100%. Um, so surprisingly, after that, I still didn't hate the game. I still loved it. It was still very nostalgic. I just definitely needed a break from it. But um, those are Gran Turismo 3 and 4 are largely the last things I've really sat down and played, and mostly on stream. But I will say, aside from that, what I played a good chunk of last year through more utility than anything else and sort of necessity was as Assetto Corsa, which is another racing game. But a lot of those cutscenes that you see in the movie from last year, that's the game I used to sort of get the interior of the car shots. And basically, I could take any car that has a mod for the game and put it in the game, place it where I want it, put the camera where I want it, well, essentially drive it how I want it, or just put it stationary, and then sort of film an empty slate of the scene, and then that's where the green screening comes in. Then I do the characters and then put them in the scene. So I ended up playing a lot of Assetto Corsa as a result last year. Probably have way too many hours logged in that game considering it's mostly sandbox and not any actual progression or anything. But um,
Okay.
mostly racing games. I would love to. I have a lot of blind spots in my um, gaming repertoire, or whatever you want to call it. Um, a lot of like adventure games and sort of MMOs or things of that nature, fighting games and whatnot. Um, kind of missed out on a lot, like Zelda, like classic titles that I just haven't ever really sat down and played. Um, but I'm a huge fan of like Valve. Like I said, Half-Life Alyx was one of the most amazing games I've ever played. But um, Portal, the Portal series is pretty much my favorite, or the first Portal is pretty much my favorite game ever.
Oh, I
Second
love
Portal's very
Portal.
close. Yeah, it's so good. Second Portal's a very close second or third there. Half-Life is up there, though I've never played enough of the full game to get there, but I just know from what I have played and what I have heard that it's amazing. Um, Team Fortress 2 is fun, or maybe not so much these days, but with all like the bots and stuff. But back in the day when I was playing it consistently, it was fun. Um,
I have never played Team Fortress 2 sober.
so it's probably a good idea, at least these days.
When I
Uh,
first turned 21, I had a friend who was just like, drunk TF2 now. And I'm like, okay. And then that somehow ended up being the only way I ever played that game. Was just my one friend being like, we're playing TF2. Okay. You can't be sober. Drink. And I'm like, okay.
it's good looking out, probably. Um, at least I can definitely say that Overwatch is probably a good game to play drunk as well, um, which is basically just TF2 at home. But I played that a little bit. But one game I will say one game that I love, and if I do ever sit down and play a game, it's probably this one, Splitgate, which essentially takes
Okay.
Portal and combines it with Halo, and it's just sort of a multiplayer battle game where you basically have these. It depends on how much you want to make the portals a part of it. You don't have to really use the portals at all, but traversing the map just makes it easier. Where there's like designated walls, sort of where you can place portals and you can. It's the same thing. You just go in one, come out the other. But it's this usually really high paced uh, battle or combat, multiplayer combat that you have your basic sort of
Yeah.
um, game types. Um, King of the Hill, domination, uh, ones where it swaps out your guns every once in a while. Splitgate, yeah, Splitgate 2 is coming out soon. It's really fun. I mean, it's essentially just Halo, but you have the option of shooting portals with your hand essentially and traversing the map there. That one is a huge bit of fun. At least playing with friends, Rocket League is always a great time. Um, just not very good at it, but just chaotic all the time. So these are things that I probably would like to do. Oh, and of course, Phasmophobia. I'm sure a lot of people
Yes.
here are familiar with Phasmophobia. Tons of fun, that one. It's kind of CBT these days. The way they did change the progression where you have to start with these bare minimum equipment and you have to get to like level 30 or 40 before you even can think about upgrading it and having enough money to do it. But um, that's that we've been playing that since release essentially or since beta. Um, so that's always a fun one. I last time I played Phasmo though, which was that was also a couple days ago. I think it was before Super Bunny Man. God, I died so many times. The ghost would not stop killing me. So that tends to happen these days, but it's still fun.
It's fair.
Yeah.
This is a question I've had in my pocket for anybody who plays Phasmo. But
Mm.
would you ever consider going on like a real life ghost hunt?
We were actually talking about that actually quite a while since we started playing, but with the folks I was playing with the other day, we were talking about that. She actually showed me the on Valentine's Day. She showed me the this episode of a show called Ghost Adventures. It's sort of ghost hunting, but they don't seem to take it too seriously. And I'm like, yeah, that actually looks like a lot of fun. Where you just sort of go in with these like gadgets and stuff, and the slightest little thing sets one person off, and you start screwing with them, and running around making noises and stuff, and um, especially if it's like in an old house or something, just a little creaks and whatnot. That actually sounds like a lot of like it could be a lot of fun, especially around Halloween or something. Um, and that you can just go on like any website, Amazon or whatever, and you can buy like EMF readers that look like just the same exact ones in the game, and infrared thermometers and um, incense and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think it would be just as fun, if not more fun, to do it in real life, especially with a couple friends who all know the 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 jokes about the game and all the funny things, and
Yeah,
you know that would be a lot of fun.
just reminds me. I bought a Amazon Basics Ouija board for Halloween this year, and
Oh,
messed
really?
around with it on stream, where people could just be like, "All right, ask a question," and then we'd flip from whatever we were doing to asking the Ouija board on my desk with a hand cam, like questions.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've never messed with one of those before, but they look pretty interesting.
Can't say that mine works very well. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I get for getting a cardboard Amazon Basics one, though, I suppose. But all right, well, cool, cool. Uh, actually, so I'm gonna assume I know the answer already, but you like a lot of racing games. Uh, what's your favorite? I'm assuming probably Gran Turismo. Um, uh, technical difficulties, everybody. Uh, think you he's
yeah. Sorry, you're
he's been
kind
struck by
of
Comcast.
breaking up on
Um,
my side.
thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you. Um,
Looks like I'm. Yeah.
oh, oh, oh,
Uh.
we're
Oh,
back.
are we good? Okay, I got green. It's such a Comcast moment, dude. I swear. I have the worst luck with them. I had like upload speeds of like zero point 0.1 megabits per second the other day. I just could not understand why. Okay, we're good. You asked me what my favorite racing game was. If it's
Oh
probably
my
Gran
God,
Turismo,
he's so goddamn
if
cool!
I heard correctly.
Thanks, Kendo. I really appreciate it.
Am I breaking up?
You're good now.
Again?
No, no, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Okay. Um, favorite racing game?
yeah, favorite racing game. I assume Gran Turismo, but
Yeah, it's difficult to be objective because, like I said, I grew up with Gran Turismo 3. Like Gran Turismo 2 and 1 are pretty fun. 1 was like a revolutionary game in like 95 or whatever. Like this, like you can actually it's semi-realistic driving and whatnot. Um,
yeah,
it was just like revolutionary, and 2 just expanded on that, and then 3 came in and was revolutionary again because it was like no other PS2 game ever looked like that. It still holds up today. Um, but most people would say that like Gran Turismo 4 is objectively the most rich with cars and stuff, um, and all kinds of things, and graphically holds up the best, and uh, so the modding scene for these games is so intense as well, where you have all these upscaling mods and retexture mods and reshades and adding new cars into the game or quality of life features. Um, that 4 is really if you want to get into a racing game, an old racing game, and honestly a racing game that puts the new ones a lot of the new ones to shame. GT4 is the way to go. Um, I guess I can't recommend emulation, but that is a thing that exists, I guess. But
I mean it's
um,
the only way to mod stuff.
GT3, what's that?
No, I said it is the only way to mod stuff.
There actually are some mods that will work on original hardware. I was very surprised to learn uh, that there are like ways to do it. Far beyond my pay grade, but
That's fair.
apparently there is a way to do it. So I'm like, if you want, but it's just so much nicer with the upscale and everything looking so nice. It's like the games look gorgeous. Um, but GT3, it will always be my. I mean, that was my first game, like in general. Um, GT3 and GTA 3, funnily enough, were my first two games as a 2 or 3 year old driving around hijacking cars in GTA 3, and then the very tame experience, relatively speaking, of driving around in GT3, Gran Turismo. Um, so yeah, me personally, Gran Turismo 3 will always be my favorite, even if it's not the most rich with cars and tracks and stuff. Just the vibe of the game, the essence of it. It's just a wonderful game to play even today. And I think it'll always be my favorite.
It's lovely. Have you seen the Gran Turismo movie?
I have not. It is on my list. I've been meaning to watch it. Um, I have gotten a lot of comments though from people who have seen it, and they they say that like mine is like Gran Turismo movie part two or like something like that, and I'm like that's very sweet. That flatters me. But I'm like I think I meant to watch it last year while I was making the movie, but I got so swept up in making the movie that I was like I just never got to it, never thought of it afterwards, and I just still haven't gotten to it. But one of these days I should, because it's an interesting, like they took it. It's less of like building a universe inside the game and more like the game is a thing that exists in the normal universe, if that makes any sense. It's like someone playing the game Gran Turismo as opposed to inside the Gran Turismo world, which I personally find a little more interesting, to build a world out of a game that doesn't have a world really built around it.
Yeah,
But I'm sure it would be a fun time. I've heard good things about it, that it was just an enjoyable movie. So I will have to get there one of these days.
fair, fair. What? Just sort of as a side question of like not the movie question, but the favorite racing game. What all racing game franchises have you played? Just out of just curiosity.
So Gran Turismo, Forza is the big competitor. For Gran Turismo is
Right.
made by Polyphony Digital, a Japanese studio, and Forza is made in American studio. So they're kind of across the pond competition, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Mario Kart, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a classic. Any of the Mario Karts going way back to the SNES. Let's
Okay.
see, Assetto Corsa, like I said, and they're coming. I think they're coming out soon with a second Assetto Corsa. I think I saw Dustin playing that on stream one time. Um,
Okay.
let's see, what else? What else? I just like suddenly blanked on all the racing games that ever exist.
I was always a
But
big
there's,
Need for Speed person. That was the one I always
hmm,
played.
I would swear I played Underground, Need for Speed Underground on the not the DS, the Advance SP, the flip SP Advance, back in the day a little bit. I think I played Most Wanted in 2005 on or at some point on the Xbox. Um,
Okay.
I always tell people I was like more brought up on the boring racing games because I didn't play a ton of. I think I did play Midnight Club, back in the day. I think I played Midnight Club 3 and LA or just LA, I think.
Nice.
I have it in my collection, so I'm pretty sure I played it. That one was fun. But NASCAR is actually one that I played a lot. The original ones on the PS2, a lot of those ones, and NASCAR '08 for some reason was one I played a lot. Um, yeah, I don't know if you'd count them as racing games, but the old what do you call them? The BMX, Aerial Racing, the BMX, like the monster truck, um, ATX ones. The we have the quads and the motorbike or the motorcycles and everything like that, dirt bikes. I played those quite a bit back in the day on the PS2. I played a Cars game, like the movie Cars game. I forgot what it was. I think it came out in 2008, 2009, shortly after the movie did, which also goated movie, by the way. Um,
I
also got me hooked on a lot of cars and things. I was already 8 or 9 years old when that came out, so I was already pretty into cars. And then that came out, and I was just sent, So I was ruined from then on. But
Good job.
yeah, they had a Cars game come out at some point as well, so played that as well. I'm probably forgetting a bunch, but
If you were
that
in the
that
movie Cars, what car do you think? What kind of car do you think you would be?
hmm. Well, I guess I'd have to say Supra because I would be pretty wrong if I didn't. But and also I don't think there was ever a Supra in any of those movies. I only saw the first one. I saw bits and pieces of the second one, and then I heard the third one kind of just went off the rails. So I couldn't say for sure if there ever was a Supra in there. But if not, missed opportunity. Um,
I just realized, does Lightning McQueen have a canonical like car model?
I don't think he does. I think he's just meant to be sort of a generic stock car. I always kind of heard that he was like sort of a Corvette, but I don't think they've ever used Corvettes for like stock car racing or like NASCAR. So that wouldn't really quite track, but I guess some people think he's like a Monte Carlo, like a Chevy Monte Carlo. One of the ones they always use for American stock racing, essentially. But I don't think he ever got like an actual like this is what he is in the show or
Okay,
in the movie,
because
which always kind of bugged me.
I know they said what the girl car was. She's a something Porsche.
Yeah, Porsche 911, I think, or 99 or 997 or Boxster or one of those ones. But yeah, Porsche. Um, um,
What
Doc
the fuck?
is the that's
It's a one-to-one copy of Owen Wilson's vocal cords.
wow.
Wow.
Holy Porsche. Um, yeah, Doc Hudson was the Hudson Hornet, which is a beautiful old car. I love that thing. Um, Luigi's the Fiat 500. Um, Guido, the little what do you call it? Forklift, the little forklift guy. I don't
Yeah.
think he has a specific model of forklift he's based off of, but I'm not a forklift expert, so maybe somebody could correct me on that. But um, yeah, all kinds of fun models of car in that movie. Um, some kind of Chevy Impala was the Maroon or Ramon, excuse me.
Oh,
The lowrider guy. Um, but yeah, I love that
that's
movie.
honestly that is just fascinating to me because like I'm like I just that you just knew all of that. That's just impressive. Like,
Thank you. Like I said, I grew up around so much of this stuff, so like a lot of models just live rent free in my head. I'm just driving around and I'm like, that one's this, that one's that. I even know like the year of some of them. I know the intricacies between the years of like Miatas. It is my car, so I guess that's like you just sort of come to know those things about your car. But um, yeah,
hmm.
I'm ruined.
It, fair. I'm there's probably things I'm ruined about too. Um,
Mhm.
would you ever do IRL racing? Like, if someone was just like, "Hey, James, do you want to do a street race from like here to here with like 10 other cars?
Uh,
Winning
Street
prize is ten
racing.
thousand dollars or something."
$10,000 is pretty appealing. Street racing is, I it's a little risky. It's a little bit above my risk tolerance, but I can't deny it would be fun. Maybe in a closed if they had like a closed course, that would be pretty fun. Um, but I definitely wanted the place where that city car was apparently manufactured, Sebring, is the location of a pretty popular racetrack, pretty much probably the most popular racetrack in Florida besides Daytona. I imagine Daytona is probably more popular, but it's just an oval. They do have a road course thing in the inside, but for NASCAR, they just use a big oval and drive around it for 500 miles. Um,
Yeah.
but Sebring is an actual like proper. It's got left turns and right turns, and it's an actual race course. It's about well, I guess I won't be too specific, but it's pretty close by. Um, and I would love if the opportunity presented itself to bring my car there. My car would need some pretty expensive, not terribly expensive, but just like it would need a roll bar and some stuff, a couple $1,000s worth of modifications and tuning to get it to a point where it would be suitable for track use. And even more tuning if it would be suitable for like race use. Like you can go around a track at like 100 miles an hour and just take the corners nice and relatively slowly. But to actually get it to speed and drive it properly, that would be pretty fun. Don't know how long I'm going to be ending up in Florida these days because that aforementioned heat is starting to get to me. But I if I did stay in Florida, I would absolutely love to do that. In any place I was, I would hope that there was some a racetrack nearby because that is something I'd like to do at some point. Um,
Okay.
maybe not with that car, but with some car.
Cause yeah, actually, I don't live that far from a drag racing like test track for some car company, and you can
Mhm.
just go pay like $200 to do drag races of two people on like a designated course. And
Really.
I always like, I've never had a car that would be good for that, but I've always thought about it every time I drive past. And I'm like, I should find somebody with a car at the least the same level of shittiness as mine, and we should go drag racing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty funny. And I mean, some cars are like sleepers. They'll look a bit shit, but then when they get to the line, they go, I know Nissan Altimas are like the big, like you'll never see it coming kind of car.
Mm.
Uh, then he hits the gas, like the people will tune them up like crazy, but they'll just keep it looking stock, and then they'll hit the gas and it's gone. So a lot of cars are like that, shit boxes and stuff. Um, um, what was I gonna say? Uh, Dustin, where he's over in Germany. Um, I don't know how far away he is from it, but in West Germany, they have a track called the Nürburgring Nordschleife,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like notorious in racing. It's I don't remember how many miles or kilometers it was, but like double digits miles long. The track. It takes your average car like 9 or 10 minutes to get around the whole thing, just to do one single lap. Um, some parts of it actually use the road, like the actual public roads. They close them off, and then the track will like merge in and out of that. Um, but I mean, it's just all kinds of angles and swoops and elevation changes. Um, And like you can just take a car there and pay like 20 or 30 euros or something like that, which is just like 25 to 35 bucks. And you can just take your car around. They have like designated tourist days where you can just take any car and you just have to, if you're slow, you just have to keep on the right. People pass you on the left, and you just can, or you can go as fast as you want, as long as you're maintaining your safety and your distance around other cars. And then other times they'll have these 24-hour races that, you know, literally they'll just keep the cars running for 24 hours and they'll just swap drivers, 8 or so hours into it, and then another 8 hours and another 8 hours. Insane races that they have there. They do similar races at Sebring. They have 24-hour races there as well, but it's just the most insane track that I can't even believe it actually exists. I was playing, when I was playing these games growing up, I thought that was a fake track because in Gran Turismo they make a lot of original tracks, and they mix the real world ones in with them, so you can't quite tell which ones are real. And I had been sure that one was fake, but I'm like, nope, that's the thing, and it's very popular. So
That's awesome.
Pretty crazy. Yeah.
So you mentioned not knowing specific forklift models. Do you know some forklift models? And do you have a favorite model of forklift?
I actually don't. My friend Telly might be able to be better with that. I don't know if he's watching right now, but if he is, he should shout out some forklift models because I believe he's forklift certified. But I don't know if he actually knows the models. But yeah, no, I haven't spent enough time around forklifts to know. Though I want to say one of the brands is called the Kubota. Echo is a forklift. I've just been informed, or I completely knew on my own. EKKO.
Okay.
Could be completely wrong, but I don't know.
I'm actually pretty sure I've seen that one actually. So
really,
yeah, I think you're on. You think you're on with that one? Okay.
I want to say yeah. Oh yes, of course, the Echo 42-inch fork. Well, he sent me a message, so now it's now I can't see it. Shucks. But I want to say when I worked at a grocery store, it was sort of this farmer's market where we had a lot of fresh fruit and pallets of vegetables and stuff coming in. I want to say there it said Kubota, Kubota on the back of one of them. But that was 2016, 2017. So memory's a bit foggy on that, but maybe.
Check. Someone in chat, Google that for me, please.
that is true. But I'm not as versed on forklifts as I am other kinds of cars and such.
That's fair. That's fair.
Though I definitely love Bobcat more.
Ah, yes, Bobcat. That is definitely yes. I know I know for a fact that they make forklifts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing can touch an Echo though. Best of the best.
I actually legitimately one of my dumbest dream projects now because of a game I played is now to do a at least a single race of forklift racing, and just get a whole lineup like NASCAR and just do forklifts.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. There's some games. Wreckfest, yeah, Wreckfest. I forgot to mention earlier. Less of a racing game, more of a, I guess, driving game. And now I'm starting to remember all the racing games I played. Driver San Francisco is a phenomenal game. If you can get your hands on it, that is a really fun game. You could basically transport out of your car. You're like this guy who's in a coma, and he has the power to transport out of his car into any other car on the road, and that plays into the game. Super fun. I don't know how I forgot that one earlier, but there's other driving games or driver games as well, but those ones are really fun. Pimp My Ride, of course. Yeah, that one is super amazing. Driver. I don't know about Pimp My Ride, but Wreckfest is a game, and BeamNG, where you basically can get all these kinds of, you can get buses and trucks and all things, probably forklifts as well, and you can just ram them. They have these soft body physics that, essentially these cars just crunch. The damage on these cars is amazing. That's my only gripe with a lot of the Gran Turismo games, is they either don't have damage or they have very kind of crappy damage. Like you don't have bumpers falling off and hoods getting crunched. You can hit a wall at 300 miles an hour and it doesn't do anything hardly. It leaves some scratches on the car. So these games, like, there's none of that. Like, you tap a wall and it's already deforming and leaving dents and stuff like it would in real life. Um, but you can have so much fun in those games, just wrecking the cars together and having these sort of demolition derby type things, at least in Wreckfest. Um, so yeah, if there was to be like a virtual version of that, that's probably the best place to do that because that sounds fun as hell.
That immediately made me think of Crash Out. Did you ever play Crash Out?
Hmm. I think I did at some point. It sounds very familiar. I definitely played Burnout, but I think Crash Out as
I
well. I
might be
might have.
combining multiple games.
Oh, really?
I might be
They're,
combining
they're
another game with like Crash something with Burnout.
that's possible. There's a couple. I mean, this Crash Bandicoot. They had a kart racing game for
Crash.
Crash Bandicoot back in the day. Could very well, but I can't think of any other games that have Crash in the title.
I
But
just
for some reason,
remember
Crash.
there was like a whole thing where there's like they had a side game where you could go off jumps and you were trying to hit a
Mhm.
dartboard by picking different cars, and like it had like all the normal like real world cars, and you were just trying to go off a jump and hit a dartboard as one of the multiplayer modes.
Okay, yeah, I have seen that. I think one of not Dustin, but one of the other driver or racing YouTubers in the community played that once. I distinctly remember him shooting his car off of into the distance and trying to hit targets. Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about now. Um, that one did look pretty fun. I don't think I've ever played that one myself, but definitely on my list one day because it's sort of in that same ballpark of Wreckfest and BeamNG of just sort of launch your car and just watch the fireworks after that. Burnout is like the OG of like just crashing your car, exploding, just blowing things up. And if I played any super not so boring racing games back in the day, that was definitely one. Less of a racing game. It does have racing, but I would always just do the parts where you just drive down the road really fast and hit an intersection and just try to cause literally as much property damage as possible. It actually counts, a dollar amount of that. And your object is to cause as much damage as possible and like blow up your car. Um, so that was a lot of fun. I think they had like 3 Burnouts back in the day, and then they had Burnout Paradise, which was more of a free roam one. That was also super fun.
Actually think the game I was thinking of was Burnout. Now that we've
Really?
yeah. Uh
Yeah.
what would be okay, I have another good question for you. If you
Mhm.
were to have any fictional car, what would it be? What's your favorite
Ooh,
fictional car? I guess is another.
that's kind of tough because a lot of fictional cars I like are actually real cars. It's just that they're dressed up in a certain way. Um,
I mean,
I have to
fair.
think about. I have to think about cars that are like
Like a regular DeLorean isn't as cool as the DeLorean.
right, right. Um, you gotta throw a flux capacitor in that thing.
If it's not
I
making an ominous humming sound, I don't want it.
exactly. I mean, I guess I could say Lightning McQueen would be a pretty cool real life car, though I actually have seen some actual real life models of Lightning McQueen at some car museums, so they have made that a thing. But since he has no like designated model, I guess he is technically fictional. Um, but and I guess I could say the same for the Batmobile because those do exist, but Batmobile would certainly be cool. Probably I'm not so into Batman, so I don't quite remember which one it was from, but I want to say it was from the Tim Burton Batman movies from the 90s, where
Well,
it's like this really long, swoopy black one with like the fan or the turbine in the front.
it has like a jet
Um,
engine and that's like its engine.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one. I'm looking at a picture of it now. That is one of my favorite fictional vehicles, and then right next to it, the Mach 5 from Speed Racer, definitely a cool fictional one.
Yo, I love
Uh,
Speed Racer.
oh yeah, it's so good. I don't know if there's really any other fictional, like proper fictional cars that stick out in my head right off the bat. Um, but in terms of like popular cars, you can't go wrong with a DeLorean. Popular movie cars, I should say, you can't go wrong with a DeLorean. Uh, Herbie the Love Bug, with the 53 on the front, the blue and red stripes down the center of it, the old Volkswagen Beetle. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Ecto One, the Ghostbusters Ecto One,
That'd be a good one.
based on a I want to say it's a Cadillac ambulance from the 50s. Um,
Okay.
any of the Bond cars, the Aston Martin Bond cars, with all the gadgets on them. Uh,
Were you a?
one
Oh, go.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say one big one for me personally is I don't know if anybody's seen Starsky and Hutch. Oh, Kit, of course, the Knight Rider car.
I have
But
seen Starsky and
also,
Hutch.
oh, he's Starsky and Hutch. The Zebra Six, I believe, was their title. Um, the red 1970 something Ford Gran Torino. Oh my god, that car I'm not a huge fan of like American Muscle and stuff, but that car with the like cherry tomato red paint and then the like white stripe down the center. I mean, gorgeous car. Um,
Yeah.
and the Cybertruck, but not. No, the Cybertruck is a DeLorean, but not definitely.
You know, the funny
But
thing is that when the Cybertruck first came out, I actually was like, "That's so cool," and then it started
mm,
being everywhere, and every time I saw it afterwards, it was like, "This is less cool," pretty
right?
much.
I almost at some point was like, huh, like I don't hate it right off the bat when they presented it. And I'm like, it's a little goofy looking, but I guess a stainless steel car like that or truck like that would be kind of cool. And then just, yeah, they're everywhere now. And most of them are like wrapped in like dentist advertising and like real estate agent advertising because I guess those are the only people who can afford them. Um,
Dentists and
so
real estate agents.
yeah,
The
they cover up all the supposedly really cool stainless steel so that they can put their real estate advertising on there. And I guess it catches your eye. It works because every time I see one, my eyes go directly towards it. Not really for a good reason, but you know, it does get my attention. It's almost a jump scare when you see them on the road, though.
you know
Yeah.
what? Yeah, like whenever I see them, I like really see them. Unlike other cars that kind of blend in with whatever, and it's like,
Mm.
oh, is that a blah blah blah? If I, but it's just like, oh, Cybertruck. It's just instant.
Yeah, there's no mistaking that for really anything else. Except for the lights. At night, the light strip, everybody likes to copy that light strip now, or I don't know if they did it first, but like the Rivian trucks, all these electric new trucks that have one light across the front, so at nighttime I can't tell if I'm being stalked by a Rivian or being stalked by a Cybertruck. But both are probably terrifying when my car is like 2,000 pounds and low to the ground and all that stuff.
Oh,
So, yeah, it's basically a visor light.
I hate
Don't
those
move,
so
creep.
bad.
Yeah.
Like, I have a thing with like I wear glasses IRL. I've mentioned this before.
Mm.
And the thing I wear glasses for essentially makes it so that the way my glasses are at night, that entire half of the road will just be light with those kind of lights. It's just
Mm.
like blind from like halfway
Oh,
across the road over, and it's just like that sucks.
oh my God. And I don't know what they're trying to do with all these like LEDs that they put on vehicles now, but it almost seems like the low beams are high beams, and the high beams are meant to sear a steak in front of the car. Like, and especially in my car, even like sedan lights go right in through the windshield because I'm lower down. I'm just like, I cannot see anything. And then people put their high beams on at like 6 in the afternoon or 6 in the evening, and I'm just like, I need to see something, dude. Terrible. Yeah, free LASIK eye surgery. Exactly. Oh.
Maybe that's why. Wait, no, we said dentists. Never mind. I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
Oh, I'm sure some ophthalmologists probably drive Cybertrucks as well. But they can't be given around free LASIK eye surgery if they want to be able to afford the Cybertruck. They have to pay for that.
I mean, maybe that's why they have the beam so high. They're trying to just give that to you on the road. They're just like,
Just
we
a
heard you might
taste.
need this. Just
Yeah, this one's for free. The next one's gonna charge you. They only do half of it so that you have to pay for the rest.
God, 50% of LASIK eye surgery. Just like
Yeah.
you can kind of see now.
I can see so adequately.
Wow, I couldn't see before, but now I can almost read that. uh, all right, all right. Just like Warhammer.
Yeah. He was trying to get me hooked on Warhammer. The first one's free, but the next one's gonna charge me. Next one's gonna cost.
Were you into Transformers?
Actually not that much. We did watch the first movie when I was growing up, but I never really got me. I was never big into trucks, I think.
That's
Like, I mean,
interesting.
I can still go back and look at the Optimus Prime, like, I mean, that must have, because I didn't even know that it was a comic before the movie came out. I was only 8 or 9 years old at the time. I just figured it was just a movie. Um, but that must have been insane for people in 2008 or 2009, or whenever, no, 2007, whenever right, because of the 2007 Linkin Park meme. Um, but 2007 when that movie came out, like that must have been mind blowing to see, because even looking back, it's like all those little gadgets and parts moving and everything. Like, at least as from a VFX standpoint, that really gets me in a good way. But I never was a huge fan of like trucks and stuff. So I guess him being the mascot never really appealed to me too much. But I like the other cars. I think
Fair.
Jazz, if memory serves, Rip to the goat. But I feel like he died in the movie. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I'm pretty sure
Uh,
that's the car that got torn in half in the first movie.
yeah, Rip to the goat then.
I
Um,
Yeah, I remember most of the cars being in like the cartoons. That's where I originally watched,
mm,
like learned of Transformers. Most of them are
right.
sports cars, so that's the only reason I was like. Plus, I mean, I don't know. You're in like the nerd space and you like cars. Transformers just seemed like the obvious like.
I do tend to have like weird blind spots. Like people are like, oh, you're a gamer, you're into this game and that game, and I'm like, nah, I've never messed with those games before. And they're like, well, you must have played this one. I'm like, no. Like, okay, but like, remember this game? And I'm like, no, but I haven't played that one either. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of glaring blind spots in a lot of things that I'm into. Like, I might be really, really, really into this one thing, just one step over, and I'm like, I've never touched that in my life. But
You know what? Fair.
um,
I have that with
but yeah,
music. I
yeah.
I get called out by Sil a lot for just not knowing any musician that I haven't already heard of.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many. It's like this music is just such an old, like every decade has at least what, a couple thousand musicians to pick from, and then a couple hundred really popular ones, and or like a couple hundred famous ones, and a couple tens of really, really, really popular ones. It's like I can't blame anybody for not knowing one of the
Yeah,
thousands of names out there. But
I swear, there's more musicians like every year. Like, well, I mean, obviously
oh
there
yeah.
is, but I mean, like, there is like, it's just like, yeah, we're just tripled all the musicians, and half the ones you knew are gone. And you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, some of the names nowadays, I feel so old. I'm only 26 and I feel so old. Okay, 3 days short of being 26, but I feel so old when I look at the names and I'm like, never seen it.
Wait, your
Never
birthday's in
heard of
two
them.
days?
Yeah, 3 day,
Three
or I
days.
guess 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 days, the 23rd, yeah, depending
Oh,
on what,
well,
if you
happy
count today.
birthday, James.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Big 2-6.
I had
I'm
no
on the bad
idea.
side of 25.
That's awesome.
I
I
appreciate.
do not have a present for you. It's just the show.
Hey, I'll take it. I love it. I appreciate it. It's a wonderful, wonderful gift.
All right. You want to move on to viewer questions?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So, first question from an anonymous questioner. Uh, anonymous asks, "Will you marry them?"
Yes.
All right. Lovely. You hear that? Whoever
uh,
anonymous chat.
she might be a little preoccupied right now, but I'm sure she'll hear it. Hello. Don't be too embarrassed. It's okay.
All right. Next question. Will you play Fortnite with Sil and Senpai again?
Oh man, if the stars align, maybe. I there's a lot of I gotta get a bus. I gotta go catch a train. There's a plane I need to be under. Maybe it's a solid maybe.
Fair.
Hit me up.
They added a racing mode now.
Really?
Yeah, they absorbed Rocket League. So now they have all the
Oh,
Rocket League cars and a bunch of other ones and a whole full
oh,
racing
okay.
mode in it now.
Well, that might be pretty cool. I do love Rocket League. They didn't get rid of Rocket League, right?
Oh
That's
no,
still the
no,
same
Rocket
thing.
League is separate. It's just they're the same studio and they merged engines. I don't know
Oh,
how
okay.
they did that, honestly, because they're still separate games. But
Yeah.
essentially now you can play Rocket League in Fortnite. And the Rocket League people make Fortnite's racing mode.
Well, all right. I might have to jump in there someday. Hit me up.
Fair enough. I'll let Sil know. I'm sure she'll love that. Um, all right. Anonymous asks, "Would you shit your pants for $1,000?"
Oh my god. I, I love how I love how it's anonymous and I know exactly who it is. Well, I don't know. That would be a lot of discomfort to experience. Even for $1,000. I'm not one to turn down $1,000, but yeah, it definitely wasn't senpai. Um, it's a lot of discomfort. Sure, I know that I could definitely buy a lot of new pants for $1,000 with a lot of money to spare. Um, I guess if I was gonna do it anyway, yeah. If you're gonna give me the $1,000 and I was gonna do it anyway, maybe I really hate whoever I'm in the room with and I just want to really stick it to them. Yeah, I guess I could do that and I would take the $1,000. That's good for me. Uh Otherwise, if it's not in my schedule, I don't know if I'm going to go out of the way to do that. Not really a fan of poopy, me personally.
Fair, fair. What would be the lowest amount you would go for that?
I, there's is see the thing is he says 1,000. He said 500 before, so he'd go really low. I am like up in the probably like 50, 60, 70,000 dollar range at a minimum, and that's if I'm feeling like, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna do it anyway because, like I said, I hate the person I'm standing next to or something, and I want them to have a bad time. Otherwise, we're talking probably like millions of dollars
I
because
mean,
it's not an enjoyable time for me personally.
you know what? Fair, fair. It's
It is
free
free
money,
money.
guys.
It is, I guess. I like to work for my money, I guess. I don't know.
Uh, you know what? Fair, fair. Tell me about your experience playing Halo on Legendary.
My God. Yeah, so uh there's a certain emote that encapsulates it perfectly. But yeah, one of the games that I played while I was streaming back in the day before Dustin, I played Halo Infinite on I didn't play it on legendary mode, but I played it on like the very low minimum easy mode, whatever you call that in the game. And yeah, I was having a pretty rough time. And like halfway through, there was a section where this I forgot what the vehicle was called, but one of those big like ships that shoots plasma blasts at you essentially would not
Nice.
stop, which just wouldn't. I think it was a wraith or something very similar to a wraith. It was red, I think. So it might have been a modified or something, but the warthogs are on our side. I would have loved a warthog that time because I was just like running or standing outside of this wall trying to get out of this building and run through this clearing. And just every single time, no matter what I did, I could not destroy the wraith thing or get past it without just getting blown to bits immediately. And no matter what I did, and I spent probably half an hour on that, and then at some point I just I just had enough and I chucked my mouse across the room. So that was easy mode. That was a couple years ago. Maybe I've gotten better, but yeah, Sil has been trying to get me to play legendary mode and get the skulls and all, or if you can get skulls in the game, I forgot.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
Uh,
how you add additional challenges. You pick them up, and then if you pick them up, you unlock like a new challenge for the next time you play through the game.
okay, okay, yeah. So that's been the thing. Besides playing Fortnite and shitting my pants, that's what my friends want me to do. Is to, honestly, if I play enough Fortnite and legendary mode all skulls, I probably will end up shitting my pants, and then I may as well get the $1,000 for it, free money.
Yeah, I mean, if they're paying you $1,000 to do it, might as well get into the proper headspace first. Just
Exactly.
just full
Need my
spite it.
training. Exactly.
All right, all right. Did you ever find your parents?
Oh yeah. It turned out that it could be my parents.
Oh,
I thought for a while it wasn't, but then it was. I love how these are just on cyber. It was my parents. I found them.
oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. Uh, do you still have a crush on Lady Doris?
Oh yeah, man. Anonymous from earlier is not gonna like hearing this, but Lunch Lady does have a special place in my heart. She was my first, and yeah, she's got thighs for days. So I wouldn't say I've had a crush. I've moved on with my life, but she'll always hold a special place in my lunch tray. One of like the little segments of the lunch tray. Shape it into a heart, something like that.
I totally understand. That first crush really that really just like really sticks with you.
Hmm. The one that
And
got away.
like much like the mashed potatoes that truly never fully passed through your system from back in the day.
Hmm. Like a little corn kernel stuck in my lower intestine.
It'll just be
Please,
there. It's part of you.
be a part of me.
Um all right. I'm going to skip the parts that's questioning if this question is okay to question. Um I s- but I so you reacted to the first launch of Starship. Uh they are very interested in hearing where you oh my god, my reading comprehension has dropped to nothing. Hold on.
It's okay.
I'll just read the. Okay, not sure if I'm late
Yeah.
on this one, but I did see you reacted to the first launch of Starship. As an employee of its originating company, I'm very interested in hearing what you think of where the rocket has come now.
Wow. Fucking someone who works at SpaceX. That's pretty cool. Um. Damn. Yeah. I did react on stream to the first couple Starship launch, like the first and the second one. Um, yeah, it's so for anyone who doesn't know, it's essentially this big rocket that's the big rocket that's supposed to be used for future moon missions and Mars missions. It's from a private company called SpaceX. Does have something to do with Elon Musk, but more of what I've always been focused on is that it's just this insane feat of engineering that it's essentially they want to reuse the whole rocket as opposed to just the top part, which is what they usually do now, or excuse me, as opposed to just the bottom part, which they usually only reuse the booster part, which if anybody's seen SpaceX's things, it's kind of routine now that they just fly the rocket up, it detaches, the booster comes back, and they land it down. And saves a lot of money on the launch because um, rockets have been notoriously wasteful and expensive, and still are notoriously expensive, but becoming less wasteful the more of it you can reuse because you don't like throw an airplane away every time you use it. That wouldn't be feasible for air travel. So the thought with this one is that you use it the whole thing. It separates, but then the parts return to wherever they need to go, and you can reuse it. Um, so it's a stainless steel, actual good quality stainless steel, as opposed to whatever they're using on Cybertruck. Um, but it's this, it's like 9 meters wide, which is double that in feet or something like that. And it's insanely tall. It's like essentially as tall as Saturn V, if a little bit taller, which was the rocket that was for the moon missions back in the 60s, late 60s, the Apollo missions. But the thing is, like, it's been since the 70s since they've been back to the moon. So I get excited at the thought of going back there, not myself, but watching other people who are far braver and more apt to shit their pants. They won't be shitting my pants because I would be staying on the ground. But um the yeah, it's just this big rocket that is that is using these essentially 30 something engines on the bottom of it, to give it it's the most powerful rocket ever made. And essentially the second stage separates from the rocket, and the bottom stage, the first stage, is they're to the point now where, and this whole thing started as like very, small scale, little tests. Like they would just make this big stainless steel container, essentially like a can, and they would launch it and then land it right in the same spot where it took off. And they just went up from there, making it more complicated until they made the actual vehicle. The top part is called, it's kind of confusing. The whole thing is called Starship, but so is the top part. But that part specifically, they would fly it up to like 15 kilometers or something like that, and then they would bring it back down in this sort of belly flop maneuver and aim it towards the Earth, and there would be like a heat shield on the underneath. And then it would essentially relight its engines after it launches itself up and flip itself back vertical and land it again. That's what they want to like do to land it on Mars, because there's no like, landing infrastructure. You can't land it on a runway. You can't really splash it down in an ocean. There's not really ocean. Certainly not on the moon. So you have to figure out some way for it to propulsively land. And they, did that back in a couple of years ago. That's the level they were at, where they were doing that consistently and successfully. But that's only half the rocket. Then they took the booster portion, and that goes on top of the booster portion. So it's essentially a flying skyscraper for all intents and purposes. And just recently they built this tower, or a couple of years ago they built this tower with what they call chopsticks on it. Essentially, it's just two big arms that are on it. It holds the rocket up when it's sat on the pad ready to go, but once it launches, it opens up and lets it go through. But once the two stages separate as part of the whole rapid reusability thing, the first stage, the booster part that provides all the propulsion, comes back and essentially does the same thing. It flips and it relights a certain amount of engines and actually comes back to the tower. And then the chopsticks come in, and the tower, or the rocket propulsively like lowers itself onto the chopsticks. And you can go see the video if you look up Starship Flight, I want to say 5, where they actually did it successfully. Or it might be 4 or 5, where they actually made it do that. And then the second stage goes off and goes into orbit and does its own thing. They're still working on the kinks on that one. The heat shield isn't perfect. It's burnt up in the atmosphere a couple times, and they did recently have a failure with the catch, but they have done it twice. So, in short, all that nerdy shit aside, it's very cool. I don't really stream it so much because I can read the room, and I know that people aren't a huge fan of Elon Musk. I'm not, I just like the rocket, but I'm like, I still have quite an interest in that stuff. So I think it's really cool, and it's just insane what current technology is capable of. And I can't wait to see where it goes from here. Honestly, can't wait till they can actually put people on it and actually fly missions, or put payloads on it and actually put massive amount of stuff into orbit. Like, it's a heavy load vehicle, so you can put a ton of stuff on there.
Are you a big fan of like space exploration and that sort of technology and stuff?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Star Trek, mainly, like the whole exploring,
Yo.
exploring and in peace most of the time anyway, at least in Star Trek, or trying to explore in peace to the best of our abilities. I think it's a good, um We should play the Star Trek game again. I think it's a good goal for humanity at large in general, especially because Earth isn't always going to be here. So good to have some people going away from it if they so choose to do so. Um, and the more accessible that space exploration can be, the better. Um, but yeah, I think exploring the universe is, just the tiny little fraction of it that we can actually access in our lifetimes. But also, beyond that, sending missions out that will span lifetimes, like Voyager, you know, um,
Yeah.
I think that's all really cool stuff. And trying to, if or existential, what's the word? Extraterrestrial. If extraterrestrial life is out there, then
I
it
mean,
would be cool to go out there and try and find it. I mean, it's bound to be out there somewhere.
if we found
Yeah.
extraterrestrial life, it'd be pretty existential, I'm sure as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One way or another, for sure.
Yeah, have you heard of the Artemis project that's happening this year?
Yeah, the SLS, the NASA missions to go back to the moon.
Yeah, we're building a permanent moon base to replace the
Yeah,
space station.
yeah, the lunar gateway and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I know that we're just like this year. It's only like the core, most basic part of it, but
mhm.
they're that's all getting launched this year.
Yeah, that stuff has been pretty cool to see. Honestly, any efforts to make spacefaring more possible and more accessible and just more common is uh is great. And all the money that can be put into doing things like that within reason is a good cause in my opinion. So it's pretty fun to see.
So say in like 10 years, they've launched like new districts and stuff for Moonbase, and now there's a city on the moon. In
Mm,
10 years, you have the opportunity to immigrate to the moon, to Artemis or whatever the name of the city on the moon would be called.
mhm.
Would you do so? Just go live in a city on the moon.
It's tough to answer that right now because I don't even travel a lot on Earth as it is. But maybe a visit. Maybe after things are. My problem with space flight is it just seems very uncomfortable and very cumbersome, even with like the most modern, besides Starship, because Starship just isn't equipped for people yet. But a lot of what SpaceX have done before that with their Falcon rockets or Falcon 9 rocket, which they actually launched from Kennedy Space Center right over on the west coast or so, excuse me, the east coast of Florida. We're on the west coast, just over the tree line over there. You can actually, if it's a clear enough night and they're doing a launch, you can actually see little orange dots coming over the tree line from one, or sometimes you can actually see them separate, and then the one orange dot come back down. It's actually really cool, and I've actually seen one of those launches in person from like only 10 or 15 miles away. Super cool. Would highly recommend. Um, Especially if they start launching the Starship more often, it's going to be an amazing thing to see and to feel. I mean, the feeling of it is even from 10 miles away, you can feel a little bit of a rumble. It's
Hmm.
insane. It's insanity. Um, but my thing is like I don't being on the rocket, even with that thing, something that and they make it pretty comfortable as compared to like Soyuz capsules or these old cramped capsules that you have to crunch into and you can fit three people shoulder to shoulder and whatnot. They're getting much more comfortable and futuristic nowadays, but like even still, you gotta pack in there, close the seal, do a bunch of checks, which is important and stuff. But it's like 5 hours from getting inside the capsule and actually launching. I'm just like too anxious to handle that kind of stuff. I can barely get on a plane these days, let alone get on one
Fair.
of those. But um, uh, if they made it, if Starship turned out to be this very, very reliable workhorse and very comfortable, and there was competition and there was regulation and everything was safe, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people were vacationing to the moon uh, every year safely, and then maybe I could get to a point where I'd be comfortable with it. Um, but visiting probably, it would probably be visiting, and that's it.
Fair.
I probably would never want to actually live there. I like Earth. I'm pretty chill with being able to breathe without assistance from either like some kind of dome or something, some biodome or a mask or anything, or and of course a suit and stuff. So I'm pretty chill on Earth, I think.
I guess in my
Me
brain, I
personally.
guess I would assume you just wouldn't go outside again, basically. It's just everything is
Mm.
indoors forever if you move to the moon.
Yeah, they probably would have designated areas where you could put on a suit, go outside, and I mean, the tourism industry would just there. That would probably be where you'd find your first trillionaires. Is whoever like gets into that private sector, and
Yeah.
just sort of sets up the first moon hotel, the first moon gift shop, the first moon, it's gonna happen, the first moon golf course, and says, oh, for $15,000, which apparently is probably gonna be cheap at some point, you can, do an EVA, or I guess it wouldn't be EVA, that would be if you were in a vehicle. You can do a moonwalk, a spacewalk, and go out in this, you know, suit and experience the vacuum of space and low gravity and stuff. Though I guess you'd always experience low gravity, but no matter how suitable they make the living habitat there. But I do imagine that like most of everything else would just be like globes and maybe some hallways, maybe some walkways. I imagine it like the moon map from Call of Duty Zombies, where you just have
Yeah.
sort of airlocks and you just move from one to the other.
I mean, the other option, if other than low gravity, would be like everything is constantly spinning, so
Yeah,
that just centrifugal force against the walls.
artificial gravity. Yeah, I think they mentioned that something like that could be possible with Starship, but I could be wrong. We actually like spin it a certain way, but
Just
yeah, that stuff is pretty trippy. But like space stations for sure could do something like that, I think.
just the future. Everybody is in those like funhouse like rolly tubes.
Yeah.
Just
Just bouncing around, dude. Would you move to the sun?
would you?
Uh, not too close. I mean, I live in Florida. I'm already pretty close to the sun as it is. I don't need any more sun. I'm very pasty. I don't need to risk sunburn.
I mean, you can get pretty close. I think
Yeah.
like
Uh,
Mercury. I think. Wait, I don't think Mercury's livable.
Mercury is pretty uninhabitable from what I understand. It's like 200 something degrees over the entirety of the thing, I think. So even like the dark side is warm because it's just that close, I think.
I think we
But
can live in Venus. I think I remember hearing some about us being able to build cloud cities there already, like in Star Wars, like with
yeah,
tech we already have.
yeah. And then we can launch Samuel L. Jackson out of the window.
Wait, is that from a movie? Is that a movie? Oh wait, no, duh,
Yeah,
duh,
this
duh, Star
this
Wars.
yeah, when Palpatine goes from maybe she's Maybelline to maybe she's dead in his face with the unlimited power.
Have you seen that Star Wars ad they did for Valentine's Day? I think it was for Disneyland, and he's just like, for Valentine's Day, you can give your loved ones unlimited flowers.
Oh my
It's
god.
just like a field of
This
flowers behind him.
that's really a thing they did. That's amazing. It's
Unlimited
like do it.
flowers. Do it. Only
Do
at
it.
Disneyland.
Uh, it's
All right.
incredible.
Next question.
I,
Did you ever find the babes?
oh, did I ever find the babes? I found the babes. Turns out they're not in Florida though. No babes in Florida. Yuck. They all moved to Wisconsin. Apparently that's where they have the big babe factory.
I'm not even in the loop on that one.
It's it's just a voice.
Hmm.
Elite gamer voice. That's more VR chat times. Oh man. Some throwbacks here today. I swear.
Honestly, Sil shows like literally everybody the burger slurger video.
I figured, yeah. Probably a dozen times.
Yeah, so she's pretty much just like, I think just every time she meets people, she's just like, look at this thing that I'm in with JamesVariety.
Yeah,
So,
that was the crowning achievement. That was a lot of fun. I forgot how long that video took. I worked on that over a year or two, a year and a half or so.
hmm.
My God.
Do you have any other do you have any other upcoming projects, like, or are you taking like a break after your movie?
So I did take a big break after the movie. Like I said, I took a nice big vacation at the end of the year and the beginning of this year. I have been working on um another video for Dustin's channel. Kind of back to the old grind. We did decide that it's like not terribly feasible to do one of those a year even, you know, like just a massive project that just takes until, I mean, it literally took from January to October, if not like last November, the previous November to October, when it finally released.
Hmm.
And most of it was just me working on it because there's not much that he could have done besides filming his parts when I was ready for them. But that was way later in the process, so um, it was a lot of me just sitting, just trying to get it done. Meanwhile, there was not a lot of videos going out on the channel, so we're back to more of a regularly scheduled, you know, couple 1 to 3 videos a month, depending on scale. Um, I am trying to make it more um, my consistent income. Um, like I said, I don't want to live in Florida forever, so um, I do want to hopefully get a place of my own someday, and that kind of requires you to have some pretty consistent income. So getting that consistent paycheck is pretty important to me. So
Hmm.
and making sure that he's getting stuff too, because you know I know that it's a little bit easier to for stuff in Germany, but you know, still taxes there and whatnot and all that fun
Yeah.
stuff. So want to make sure that he's doing well on his end. So that's largely the plan for right now is focusing on that stuff. But I did take a big break from working on my book. I've been at page 750 something for at least a couple months now, or at least a month or two now. Just took some time off of it. But the yeah, like I said, I do want to get the first draft done this year. Um, hopefully, I would like to publish sometime 2020, 2026 if possible. Um, it is a bit of a process to get there, but I would say at the halfway point of the book. So that's kind of my big, if not further than that. I'd like to think I'm further than that, 750 pages in, but a lot of it's probably going to end up getting cut, maybe. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's my big project in terms of that. Other than that, it's just kind of picking and choosing a little bit here and there, jobs to do. Like I mentioned in real life, I have some detailing work, car detailing work, um, kind of just a mixture of everything together to, you know, keep me going. But yeah, in terms of big projects, it's really just the book for the time being and getting this next video done on Dustin's channel. Hopefully, sometime next week or the week after, beginning of March. So that's the immediate plan and immediate to short term plan, I would say.
Hmm. 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 Okay. Okay. Well, cool. Cool. Uh, Man, my brain, I'm like fighting like ADHD stuff because I'm like, I had a question like halfway
Oh,
through that, and then it's gone now.
oh, no worries. Did it have to do with the
Uh,
book or detailing or
oh
any of
no,
the? I talk really fast and about a lot of things,
no, no worries. It
but
is my bad. I should like take notes or something while I'm doing this.
it's fine.
Um, yeah. All right. That's awesome. Just it's a good to pace yourself because like nothing's worse than like burnout.
Oh yeah, I know all about that. I could tell towards the, I mean, final week of the movie, I had basically written out on this yellow notepad here essentially uh, every day laid out because we had a deadline in mind. We didn't have much of a deadline throughout the project, but we had a deadline in mind, and I had realized that the way I had done it, I needed to kind of bust my ass every single day to make the deadline. And I had actually underestimated how much I had to do that because I was keeping a pretty good pace. Yet somehow by the final day, which it released on a Saturday, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and that Friday, I woke up in the morning. I did all the things I wanted to do for Friday, but I still had some things that I wanted to do for Saturday. Actually, yeah, it released on a Sunday because I had some issues on Saturday. Um, which, oh my god, that's a Da Vinci moment right there, but I can talk about that in just a second. But on Friday night, I realized I wasn't in a great spot for releasing the next day. So I stayed up a little bit later and later and later, and before I knew it, it was 5 in the morning Saturday, and I was just like, well, I guess I'm not sleeping, and I have just a little more to do on this video, but it does involve me getting in my car and going someplace to film literally the last like post credits bit, which was filmed the day before release, the day of what was supposed to be released. Um, and then I came back and edited that and put it in there. And um, yeah, I hadn't been asleep since Friday morning, and it was Saturday evening when I was finally rendering, and Dustin had done a live stream because he's like, "Hey, we're gonna be the first to see this," and they were just like, "Take your time, we'll wait here," as it's rendering, and it ended up being like a 70 gigabyte file, by the way.
Okay.
Um, so by the time it was done, I was like, "All right, ready to go," and I looked, and I just saw the VLC like orange cone, the traffic cone, which usually indicates if it doesn't show a thumbnail, for me, it usually indicates that there's something wrong with it or that it's like an audio file. But I clicked on it and it wasn't playing back. And I immediately knew what the problem was because I've done it countless times before. I rendered to a drive that did not have the sufficient disk space for the movie, and DaVinci
Ooh.
did not tell me that that was the case. So I was like, okay, it needs to re-render. So he just ended the stream and he's like, all right, we'll just do it tomorrow. Um, but I was like, "Oh my god."
I
So
think I
it did end
remember
up
when
going
people tell us that
on
way.
oh yeah, yeah. It ended up going out on Sunday, but I can tell you that that's
Hi, everybody. So sorry about that. We are back.
hey.
Uh, yeah, my whole PC crashed, so I deeply apologize over that. Um,
Hey. Comcast moment.
God, the tech
Oh, there we
issues.
go.
There we go.
I'm alive.
Yeah, there's a lot of like weird particulars to make this all work. So it's like
Oh yeah.
I
Oh no, yeah.
like to have you on
Every
the
stream.
monitor. I have to have a pop out tiny window on the top layer of any window it's on.
Mhm. Oh
So
my god. Yeah, no, every stream is just a hodgepodge of all kinds of stuff. That's all kinds of solutions and stuff glued together.
yeah,
Totally get it.
but uh, do you remember what you were saying? It's okay if you can't.
Um, I almost do. Um, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anybody else remember what I was saying? um, something about cannot remember.
Your notebook, your little yellow notepad.
Notebook, right. So the notepad, um, I think I mentioned, yeah, so the 70 70% or 70 gigs on the video. Didn't get it until Sunday. I think most of that. I don't think I had any trouble before that. Um, the yeah, a lot essentially. Long story short of what I was saying was that burnout sucks, and that definitely does suck, and it's pretty tough to bounce back from. It took me probably a month or two to even feel like or about took me about a month to even feel like editing anything again. And then I edited a little bit here and there and didn't really feel like it all that much. Forced myself to still a little bit, but it took getting away and just getting away from my computer in general to be like, all right, I'm ready to get back to it. Um, and even still, I don't like editing ginormous, stretches of footage and whatnot. If I can avoid it, I like crisp or like quick cuts and tight editing that helps to keep overall length a little shorter, unless you're making some kind of a movie or something. So many giggities there, I don't even know where to start, but
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Would
Long
you
story
ever?
short, burnout sucks. There you go.
Yeah. Would you ever actually make a movie, like a movie?
I would probably be interested being some part of the process, either in front of the camera or behind it. Um, they're both really fun things. I mean, it's a lot of work. It is a hell of a lot of work, but very rewarding work, especially if you're in front of the camera. Uh, but I don't know that I have like the cinematography experience enough to actually, or really any experience that's enough for like professional on a set work. But I would definitely, I mean, filmmaking just in general, even if it's indie, is really fun. And I find oftentimes that's where the best stuff comes from, is the small creators online and indie creators and whatnot. People who go in with, 3, 4 digit budgets and make magic happen somehow. I'm always, kind of taken aback by that. And, the Freddie W type stuff, small productions, but you couldn't quite tell from looking at them. And sometimes they put the big productions to shame. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, being a part of the process, directing, writing, uh, cinematography, acting, even composing. Not that I have all the skills necessary for those like job titles, but definitely stuff that I would like to do, or would definitely enjoy to do. Um, in any case.
Okay. Hmm. All right. Now, another question from viewers. Do you still have the Blink 182 notebook?
The Blink 182 notebook I do have. It is currently in storage in a box, however, I believe, because I was trying to clear out some space. I had a lot of stuff under my bed. I think it was under my bed or in a drawer. But I do definitely have that from the Burger Slugger video.
So that is from the Burger Slugger video?
Yeah, it's the literally just an orange notebook that I drew Blink 182 stuff on the front because I think I was too poor to actually buy a Blink 182 notebook at the time. Uh, but I covered the insides with a bunch of mad ramblings with a red Sharpie and then dipped my hands in a bunch of red ink or red dye and slapped it all over in there. And I forgot what the thing I drew was because it was one of the people in Sill's chat making the story. It was probably some phallic object or something, but drew it in blood essentially. Oh, it was manifesto. Yeah, the yeah. Okay, I'm remembering it now. Yeah, yeah. I still have the manifesto.
Okay. Well,
Iron Man
good.
number. Yeah. Slurgy the clown will do Iron Man numbers written in blood. It's coming back to me now.
Uh, do you still like write any like skits or anything like outside of even if you don't plan to make them, do you ever just like come up with like little things like that you'd like to do at some point?
I do have some ideas. None of them are like particularly well filled out, but um, some ideas will randomly pop into my head, and just as quickly they'll pop right out. But one that's kind of stuck with me is like a scene. I don't know if I don't know if you're familiar with Magic Spoon cereal, but it's like the very popular advertised keto-friendly, low carb, low sugar cereal on like all YouTubers nowadays. Like everybody's doing the Magic Spoon thing. Um,
I
and like I've always been perplexed at how such a small, light box of cereal that is barely it's like 200 grams of cereal. It's like basically nothing can cost like $10 a box.
I don't
Um,
believe that. Have you ever had it?
I have had it only when it was on sale for like $2 a box. I had the peanut butter kind, and I was like, that's good. I wouldn't spend $10 on it, eight, nine, $10 on it. And hell, if you order it like online, it costs even more. So I just like had this idea in my head of just like two super serious um agents of some description. Who knows who they work for or what agency, but two super intense guys just sitting in a smoky room. You know, one is just like nibbling on the cereal, and the other one's just like, you know, Johnson, give it to me straight. What is it? You know, is it good? And he's like, it's okay. And the other guy just starts to lose his mind. He's like, okay, okay. $10 for okay, and he just starts like breaking shit, and like he's got like a big, you know, like the Pepe Sylvia from if you ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia, how he's got this big board with all the lines going across and shit, like
Yes.
the investigation board, and he's just losing his mind. He's just like ripping it to shreds. I
I love
don't know
that.
what the point of such a scene would be, but it's just one of those random ideas that sticks in my head, and I'm like, yeah, I did. I saved the box just for that kind of thing. You know, like I'm like, I'm probably never gonna get the cereal that cheap ever again, so I may as well. And
I
someday when I maybe have a little more room, that would be a fun thing to make.
I will say, if you the peanut butter one is the one that I thought sounded the best, but that's not the one I
Mhm.
got to try at at a similar sale. I
Yeah,
tried the maple and the frosted one, and they were both the worst tasting things I've ever had in my entire life.
really. I would have had high hopes for the maple one at least, or at least the frosted. It's kind of hard to fuck up frosted.
I mean, it is when you don't have any actual sugar in it.
Yeah, well, I don't usually mind like that kind of stuff. It's just
Well, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
so easy. It is really easy to do it wrong, I guess. But I'm like, yeah, just give me the sugar, dude.
Yeah, no, it didn't even taste like fake sugar. It literally tasted like, well, it tasted like the bad aftertaste of fake sugar without even the sweetness because the cereal is
Mm.
so packing peanutty that it
Oh,
like
yeah.
absorbed all the sweetness from it, at least the frosted one. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, this just is the worst part of fake sugar, and that's the whole flavor.
You didn't make cereal better, you made sugar worse.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
somehow made the idea of frosted things awful.
Yeah. Yeah. I and just I can't get over like the per ounce cost of that stuff. It's like you're paying dollars for a bowl of cereal. I just can't get over that. And if it's not very good. And this stuff sticks to your tongue as well, or like the roof of your mouth. Like you said, it's packing peanutty, so it sort of collapses in on itself because it's basically just solidified protein powder, just with artificial sweetener or, you know, different kinds of sweeteners in there that don't have
Yeah,
like a glycemic effect. And it just compresses into a mass that just sticks to the top of your mouth. It's not particularly pleasant. The peanut butter one was okay because at least it tasted decent, but I'm like, there's so many other cereals that you can have, and it's like you're not gonna get diabetes just from having like normal cereal, as long as you have it in moderation. I would just rather have Cheerios in moderation.
yeah, yeah.
Not sponsored.
Okay, I have two questions from this magic spoon side thing.
Okay.
One, have you heard of like the cereal heads? The people who like collect cereal and go out of their way to like make the ultimate box of cereal by mix and matching aspects of cereal. There's a bunch of them. It's a
No.
big, huge like subculture.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mix cereal up myself occasionally. I'm and I mix it up with all kinds of other stuff. I don't usually go for like just what's in the box, but I guess like some Fruit Loops with some, I don't even know what, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Could be like an apple pie, maybe Apple Jacks with Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Gotta be like an apple pie cereal. I could see it. I could see it.
Because yeah, I follow two guys on once again TikTok, but I follow two guys on TikTok who are like they're like we're cereal heads and they don't know each other. That's the craziest part to me. But
Yeah.
they're like, I bought this cereal from the year 1997, and I will eat this for you now. And then he's like, and I will put fresh almonds on it, and it's just like something weird
Here
like
we
that. And you're
go.
like,
Welcome to Taco Bell.
Valkyrie,
Wow.
thank you for the raid. I really appreciate it. I'll give you a shout out. Hope you had a wonderful stream. Uh, but also,
Um.
oh, sorry, go
Wow.
on.
I know. I was just gonna say that's crazy that that exists. That people who don't know each other are doing that is I think the most surprising part.
But yeah, I follow different people who do the same thing but different. Mostly because I was just like, oh, are they? No, they just don't have anything to do with each other at all, and just apparently it's like a subculture I was unfamiliar with. And then my next one is, as far as fake sugars go, have you ever heard of the oobly fruit?
Oobly fruit. No, she haven't.
It's a fruit they found in Africa that has fake sugar that does no hypoglycemic response whatsoever. But a single tablespoon of oobly fruit powder is equivalent to 1,000 cups of sugar in sweetness.
Really? In nature. Holy crap.
Yeah, so like there's but the only people who are working on turning it into a fake sugar is some one single company in China,
Hmm.
and it's a thing that got discovered like semi recently, and it's called the oobly fruit. And also it is the only protein based sweetened something particle. So it's actually not, it's not only is it like a sweet like by tablespoon or teaspoon of 1,000 cups of sugar, it is also 100% pure protein.
Wow, that's impressive. That sounds like an amazing fruit.
I don't.
I need somebody else besides China to work on this
It just
because that
seemed
needs to be on
interesting.
shelves. Yeah, I've heard of like there's like sugar alcohols, kind of famously the stuff that they put in the sugar-free gummy bears. They put just the names completely escaped me just now. Uh, erythritol, xylitol, they all end with like tol on them, but they're like the cause behind why like their Amazon reviews of gummy bears are just like, yeah, I spent the weekend in in my bathroom because of these things and I had the worst gas. I'm like, yeah, they tend. I guess they ferment in your gut or something, so it tends to not be the best for some people, especially in large quantities. Like if you eat a lot of candy, sugar-free candy.
I've been
Um,
holding out
but
for
yeah,
those with the intention of at some point buying them from somebody as revenge. As
yeah.
just like the nicest form of revenge ever. Just like, here you go. Enjoy a bag of delicious sugar-free gummy bears.
Laxative bear is my favorite.
It's
Yeah,
safe. It's on Amazon.
yeah. I mean, it is. You're just gonna run up your water bill ever so slightly, and wish that you never were born for a little bit, maybe, if the reviews are anything to be believed. But I guess they get those from fruit as well, but they have to like pull it from the fruit. So I guess with the oolé fruit, you have to do a similar thing. There's always going to be some kind of industrial process that you got to do, but there are some that I guess don't have that kind of reaction. Allulose, I think that's what they use for the magic spoon, allulose or something, because I never had a reaction to the magic spoon. Um, but yeah, sometimes it's easier to just take the sugar.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it might just be easier. You're right. It might just be easier to manage your sugar intake.
Yeah, moderation.
All right. Oh wait. We have. Who is the real Morty? You or Cell?
Me, obviously.
Fair.
I mean, not even a question.
And then we have another question.
Yeah.
If you haven't been asked yet, do you still have a love for Lady Doris?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
No, we did
it's
already
the
do
it
that, but
yeah. I will since she's here again. I'll explain that it's a fleeting fancy, but she'll always have a place in my colon, in my heart, in my lungs, and my liver. She really kind of just stepped all over me, so she's kind of all over me and very difficult to rinse and wash away. So she's with me whether I like it or not. Always with me, Lady Doris.
all right. Well, that is all of our guest question or viewer questions. So, um, if you would like to, here's a little spot for you to self promote yourself if you would like. And
All
I
right.
think we will wrap up for the day then.
All right, hell yeah. You can find me on the me either in person or me editing most a good chunk of the videos on Dustin Eden, the YouTube channel Dustin Eden.
You can just find him in person. Go look for him. He's
Yeah,
somewhere out there.
I'm somewhere probably in someone's walls, maybe in your walls. Who knows? Uh, um, I'm rapidly approaching your location, and no, you can find other of my work. I will give a shout out to somebody rather special, who I have not mentioned that I also work on their work. Oh, speak of the dang devil, Lumimari. I do some work, editing work on her channel. Um, hi. So you can find my work over there as well, and you should also just check her out because she's awesome. And I'm not biased. So yeah, you often find me there. Also potentially in person. We often collab, so there you go. James Variety, if you want to find me anywhere, you can look up James Variety. I'm on Twitch. I try to stream when my computer and the internet cooperates, which is not all the time, but sometimes. Um, but YouTube, my personal YouTube, I don't post as much, but someday I may put, if I do any short films or skits or anything or put music up, it's probably going to end up there first or last or at some point. Um, I think that's about it. I have a Blue Sky. I don't post there very much. I don't do much of the other social media type stuff, but um, yeah. Um, Other than that, I think I covered anything. At some point, I'm gonna have a book out. Um, I will have. It's the title's called Terra Liberum, Terra Liberum, like kind of liberty, but Liberum. Um, Alternate history dystopian, if that's your thing. It'll be done in the next year or two, hopefully. At the very least, a rough draft will. I'm always putting updates around on various places and talking about it on my streams. So hope to actually live stream writing at some point, but figure that out as it comes. So yeah, keep an eye out for that eventually. I'm sure if you're in this community, you will hear it. The first draft is actually available. A chunk of it. I'm like going through. It's sort of a first and a half draft, I should say. So I have links to that stuff over on my own channel. So I think on my Twitch there should be a command for it as well. So if anybody's interested in checking out what it is, then that's there. That's gonna probably be my life's work right there. So
We'll have to shout when when you get it out. We'll have to like do a whole like press tour shout out thing of it again.
awesome. That would be awesome. I'd really appreciate that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it for tonight's Celvion night. Thank you so much for being on, James. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you all to you all of you. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a cell of a time. Make sure you go check out James over at I did the wrong shout out command. James Variety. And you know, Discord, socials, all that. Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. Or I hope you all had a hi. No, my branding. I hope you all
Wonder
had a
Cell.
cell of a night. Dang it. Bye, everybody.